Shalom, shalom, Yasharal, shalom, shalom, Mashpaka, shalom, shalom. Hope everybody had a good Sabbath, a good Shabbat. I hope everybody's having a good start to Yom Rishon, the first day. About to do laundry. As you can see, I got my laundry bag right there. Just waiting for the bus. But I wanted to give a quick little testimony on something. I wouldn't call it a praise report per se, really, but just kind of want to make some things known, set some of the things straight. A lot of people, a lot of the audience on my live, I know depending on where you're at, you might think I'm just talking to you, but we're mashpaka, right? So we're all a body of believers. We're the assembly, right? We follow the true ways of Yah, keeping Torah, and the belief, the trust in Yahusha Mashiach. But other than that, I have a ministry I don't really talk about too much that extends out to the streets, where I put out my YAHUSHA stamps, feed the homeless from time to time, try to share a word every now and then if I can. Lately, my mouth has been kind of shut from doing that. Yahuwah has shut my mouth, but the YAHUSHA stamps has been proven to be effective. I've been seeing I think that's where I'm getting a lot of the more views from the Facebook Live and stuff like that. So understand that if people are checking out my Facebook page based on the YAHUSHA stamp, I'm not talking to the common person. So I do have to say things that pertain to a traditional theological understanding. That being said, I just posted all these videos and things about Ray Bentley. I should probably title this. I'm going to title this about Pastor Ray Bentley from Maranatha Church. I've given my testimony before about him, where I was living in Texas, in Dallas, and I just remember I was studying the Word by myself, by the Ruach, because I knew nobody was teaching the truth right, because I can discern the scripture enough for myself to just know some simple things. For example, I went to a Baptist church. They taught me I needed to be immersed, praise Yah. But then, everything just seemed a little traditional in the worldly sense. I felt like it was a message that, it was like the call to salvation message, like the altar call type message. Yahuwah has a plan for your life. You're high, he'll forgive you your sins, so I'm like, man, at that time I was I'm kind of done with my sins. I hated my sins. I was in that, first love, real strong, passionate fire. So it wasn't speaking to me, speaking to more people that were needing to always repent. And I was done with that. As far as I knew, I wasn't consciously sinning that I was aware of, right? So that's being perfect to the best of our integrity. As far as I know, I haven't done nothing guilty of my conscience. I'm trying to, love everybody, love each other, not having hateful thoughts, lustful thoughts, nothing like that. So I ended up going to a non-denominational church, and they taught me how to praise and worship. They taught me how to be grateful that our sins, have been forgiven, our debt has been paid, and to praise and worship, put your hands up. The hill song started coming through. That's when I started to learn to love Yah on an intimate level through praise and worship. So, what I learned was all these different religious Christian denominations have a piece of the puzzle. I learned to be immersed through the Baptists, because they teach you got to get baptized. And I'm I need that. I got sprinkled when I was a baby, and I had a feeling I felt it in my conscience that I needed to get immersed. And so now I'm learning to praise and worship through non-denomination. Only problem with that is they were right out the gate preaching a twisted word. They sort of have the repentance message, sort of have the obedience message, but then sort of have but even if you sin, once saved, always saved. No matter how many times you sin, you can keep on sinning. Your sins are covered. Don't trip on it. You ain't got to change yourself for nobody or no one, kind of thing. You don't have to. You can be wicked and still be saved. Once saved, always saved. You just ask for forgiveness. I'm no. So it was at that time, I kind of tried to call out the pastor on it, and he kind of put me on the spot on it in a weird way. Well, he just preached a message that turned my family away from me, and I'm I'm done with this. the one time I got my brother and sister to go, they preached a message that was like, go back into the world, like sort of like, but Yahuwah's in all that. He allows all that. Sort of like he, you know, you allow the enemy to give, you know, our itching ears what they want to hear. You know what I'm saying? If that's what's in their heart. And so, but praise God, I hope it's not anymore. And so, but I knew that was twisted. So I just left the church altogether at that point. And this was back in like 2011. Like my bond was just born. Ruben was just born. So it was like 2009. Yeah, I had him in 2009. And then, yeah, like 10, 11, I was sort of walking on my own for a couple years, trying to figure things out. When he was born, I remember we were going there. So, yeah, the first year. So by 2011, I'm searching from 2011, 2012. 2013 comes, and I'm still, Jehovah's Witness come knocking at my door around that time, about 2012. And, you know, I let them in. I'm like, what do you got to say? Like, I'm searching. I'm seeking for truth. What do you have? I know everybody's got a piece of the puzzle. And so she's like, did you know that the holidays are pagan? Like, they're worship to other deities and we're not supposed to do them? And I'm like, really? And I look it up and it checked out. And I'm like, wow, okay, so I'm not doing that. And so I started like looking at, well, what are we supposed to celebrate? You know, they call the Passover Easter, but it's not about Easter eggs and bunnies. It's about the blood of the lamb and the manna, right? The unleavened bread that he was, the bread without yeast, without sin. And so I'm like, cool, I'm with that. What other holidays are there? Like, I know there's more, you know, because I just knew. Like, I didn't even hear about Feast of Trumps. I didn't hear about this stuff. I just knew, well, I know Jewish people celebrate other stuff. I'm pretty sure what they're celebrating are some biblical things that are in the Bible, right? Like biblical holidays, because they celebrate Passover. We celebrate Passover. We call it Easter and do eggs. And I see they celebrate other things, and those must be in the Bible too. So I'm just asking for Yah to lead me, and I'm feeling this void inside. And I even told my ex-mother-in-law, she can witness for me. She was driving me to work, and I was just quiet and depressed, and she's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, man, I just have an urge to like want to keep the Passover and like learn like Jewish holidays or something. Like, I feel like we're supposed to keep like the Bible holidays. I just don't know where they're at. I didn't even think to Google it, you know. I was just like, Yahuwah kind of like, he has a different way he's going to show you. He's going to surprise you with it. So I didn't even think to Google. I was just like, I wasn't on my research game like that. I wasn't on my Google game like that. And that's part of this message right here. You know, I kind of want to like, you know, encourage you to get on your research game, your Google game, Christian. So this is what this is about. And so one day, like, I remember just feeling this void inside. I'm meditating on the word, and like, man, I know we're supposed to be more like Jewish or biblical in a sense, because if we're not doing the pagan holidays, like, I'm not doing any holidays. I'm just keeping the Passover. Like, I know there's more holidays than that. And then I started feeling that whole Sabbath thing kick up, like, and Sunday, like, now I'm wondering if that's even right, because it's supposed to be the Sabbath, ain't it? Like, don't the Jewish people do it on Saturday? Ain't that the original? I'm just thinking these things. And one day, you know, I remember getting paid, and I'll never forget it. Like, I can remember like yesterday. I was opening my check, and I looked at it, and I remember just feeling like, poof, whatever, like, another day, another dollar, the mundane, the monotonous, the usual cycle, the routine, which is part of the chai. And I remember just looking at my check. As soon as I looked at it, I felt like the Ruach gave me this understanding. You know, you get that conviction, like, where it's like, oh crap, I left the oven on. Or like, oh crap, I forgot to turn off the water. Oh crap, I left, you know, some crazy feeling like that. Like, you know, like I forgot to do that. That's what it felt like, because I always thought how I could explain it, because, you know, it's not like I heard a voice in my head or something like, but it was like this feeling like, oh crap, I'm supposed to like, and so it was like that, and it was like this feeling that jolted me, and when I looked, I felt a little bit of the Ruach fire at the same time, a little jolt, but it was like, oh my gosh, and it was basically like this understanding, this thought that was like, go to San Diego, like I'm supposed to go to San Diego. I'm like, almost like I was supposed to go. Like, I had a divine appointment that I knew about, and I just forgot, and I just remembered, but I didn't know. You know, it's just a random day. I'm just living my life in Texas, working at a warehouse, and it's like I was supposed to go, like a divine understanding. Like, I was appointed to go. It was like, go to San Diego, like they're waiting for you. Like, it's like I couldn't get more in a hurry. Like the Ruach will quicken you when you're supposed to do something like that. You don't have to wonder about it when it's like really the Ruach. He'll move you when it's really the Ruach. And just trust everything else, even when things look like I don't know what's going on, because the rest was like that. It was just that moment. But I started packing my bags, and I started like, it only took but a few minutes. Dad was trying to creep in, like, you know, that was a delusional moment. You're tripping. You're just thinking things, because now it's like you're in a new present time. So you almost can't, you know, like, you're not gonna ever relive that first initial moment when you heard that voice. But you have to be mindful, like, okay, this just felt real. No matter what my mind tells me later on, my flesh and all that, whatever voices, I have to remember, like, this is that real to me, that I'm gonna start doing it right now, as like a sign to myself, not to back out, because it was that real. And so I'm packing my bags up immediately, and like, you know, my ex-wife, you know, she gets home, she's like, "What are you doing?" You know, she sees me packing up, and I'm like, "Man, I know it's gonna sound crazy, but Yahuwah told me to go to San Diego." And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like I heard him, like I just looked at my check, and then it's like something like I'm supposed to go there, like I'm late or something, like I need to go, like I can't explain it, but it's like go." And I don't want to, like, you know, wonder what if I don't, you know what I'm saying? Because it sounds crazy. I could not go and be like, you know, whatever, I was probably tripping, but then I could justify it in my flesh, but then I'm always going to wonder what if. And I was seeking for something. I was already at that point in my chai where I was feeling void. I'm about to get on the bus. Hello? Hello? Yeah, so I was already in that point in my chai where I was feeling void, like I'm missing something. What's my purpose? That's where he wants you. You know, when he can get you there anytime, where you can sit still long enough in a mundane routine, stop seeking your own pleasures and doing your own will. He's waiting for you to give up so you can like get to that place where like you sort of like feel it eating you up inside, like you're waiting for his will. Because then he'll know that when he gets to you, you're gonna jump right in full, you know, with fire that's stored up. You know, but if you're already keeping yourself busy and doing whatever to entertain yourself, and he brings his will to you, like he you know, presents it to you, you're gonna be able to justify it easier. Like, nah, I'm good. I'm already doing this. I'm all like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm already like, but you're doing your will. You're doing your heart's desire. You know, your way. And so at that time, I was really at a point where I just gave up everything and I was just waiting. I was just seeking for an answer. I was just doing the mundane, going to work, clocking in, clocking out, going to work, clocking in, clocking out, eat, sleep, shower, go to work. And I was just waiting on him. I wasn't trying to do no active ministry on my own. I wasn't trying to find any more churches, because I just got broken down from all that. So I'm just waiting. Yahuwah show me. He brought me the Jehovah's Witness. Cool. They planted a seed. We're not supposed to do the holidays, so I'm waiting to hear more about what we are supposed to be doing, because I know the Jewish do celebrate something that's a biblical holiday. I didn't think to research it. I'm just waiting. Okay, since you're being dumb, I didn't think to research it, but I'm gonna use that foolishness to my wisdom and give it to you in the best way, because you know, you poor thing, you just don't know any better. You're you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. He just tells me, he hits me with this fire of the Ruach, go to San Diego. So I'm packing my stuff up, and I tell my wife, man, I don't want to wonder what if. So I'm on the Greyhound, and I remember, like, I'm just like, I went through the expounded versions before in other testimonies, having, you know, shaky feet, and he gave me a dream, confirmed who I'm supposed to get in contact with in my sleep on the way there. Woke up, called him, and that dude has a private Facebook profile, and he's wondering how I even got a hold of him. And I'm telling him I'm there, I'm going there for business. I don't tell him it's kingdom business, but he's like, hey, if you need a spot, you can come stay with me. So immediately Yahuwah confirmed his word, because that was one of the things he did tell me. He said, I'm not going to suffer you to be on the street or homeless. I'm going to have you taken care of before you get there. Someone to pick you up, all of that. And he confirmed it right there. He was making it happen. Like, wow, this is for real. So I enjoyed the rest of the way there after that. That's how it be. And so we got to San Diego, trying to figure out, okay, now what? You know, I'm here with him, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna try to make it, you know, whatever. So I start trying to find a job. I find a little church and around the corner, just to have somewhere. I'm like, maybe I'm supposed to find a church around here, you know. So I find somewhere to hear the word, and sure enough, this little church ends up taking me to another church they go to. I meet some of the members of that small church around the corner from this guy's apartment, who picked me up when I got to San Diego and I was staying with him. He had this little church called Cross Connection in Escondido, San Diego, and Escondido, California. And so I met a few good, awesome brothers there. Brock, you know, who always prayed for the peace of Israel. Joe Wise. Who else? Corey. And there's a couple other dudes, but they were the main three in my group that we assemble most. Bible studies at Starbucks, you know, little coffee shops, Denny's, and we just have breakfast, lunch, whatever together, and just chew on the word, pray together, share the, you know, go out and evangelize sometimes together. It's cool. And one day they're like, we're gonna take you to this bigger church. So they invited me to this bigger church, and it was called Maranatha. It was called Maranatha, and this was the church I've been posting about. Went there, and I heard all this hype about the Feast of Trumpets. I'm like, what? And I'm like, wait, what are y'all doing? And this is Christian church. Like, yeah, Feast of the Trumpets is approaching, and I saw people talking about it, heard people, and then, you know, that's when these brothers, you don't know about the Feast of Trumpets? And they sort of broke it down for me too. And the renewed covenant, how it's, you know, Jeremiah 31:31, you know, put the laws within your heart. You know, they read it and they're like, what does that mean to you? And I'm like, it looks like he's talking about the actual commandments. Like, he's going to put the commandments in our inward parts. And they're sort of like Malachim. They're like, okay, he's ready. Next thing I know, Feast of Trumpets came up like within the next coming weeks. And that's when you see the videos in my Facebook. Those are my testimony when I was going through all that and I was young. And I think by that time I had my wife. You know, I'm still young, but I was like, you can tell I'm like fresh out of high school young. I was just 2013. So I was like 20. I was already kind of old. I was like 22, 23 maybe. But yeah, so, you know, I had my wife there. You see the video. And that dude that's blowing the shofar with the long hair, that's Corey. And he's the one that gave me that shofar. One day he was dropping me off home, I remember, from like, I think I visited their church again to do a Bible study in the afternoon, or it was after service, it was something. But he wanted to drive me all the way home. And so when we got there, I was like, man, you know, I was like, you know, this hype about the Feast of Trumpets. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like, I'm excited. Like, I gave him this testimony. I've been asking to learn about the feast, or learn about what else there is to learn about the holidays, about biblical, you know, holiday feasts. And here I am, you know, and I didn't even expect this. Like, trumpets just came out of nowhere. We're gonna be celebrating Feast of Trumpets. Everybody's hyped up about it, and they're passing out pamphlets. Everybody's bringing shofars. And like, man, I wish I had a shofar kind of thing. I didn't even mention it. I was just kind of like, yeah, man, I need to get one. And sure enough, he was like, bro, he just pulled it out. And he's like, Yahuwah told me to give this to you. Of course, he didn't say Yahuwah, but you know. And so I'm like, what? And so he gave me that big shofar. And that's the same shofar that you see my son blowing in at the assembly at a smaller church downtown. You know, we started church hopping a little bit around there, because when we moved to downtown, you know, Maranatha was like, took 2 hours at that time to get over there. It was like an hour commute and then like a 30-40 minute walk from the stop. So yeah, so we try to find another way, you know, way where, you know, place of fellowship. And I was taking that shofar everywhere. We're blasting it. We took it to every little service, and we would blow it. We was just hyped up about it. But we didn't realize prophetically we were blowing it for the last days, like for the call on COVID and all this, because this was around the time that the blood moons came out. The blood moons came out 2014, 2015 to show like there's going to be pandemics coming in the near future. That's what the blood moons mean when they land on feast days, you know, back to back. So I posted all that too. I didn't even mean to do all this the way I did it, posting everything. Now I'm talking about it so you can go and see. I'm just a foolish thing. Yahuwah uses the foolish things to shame the wise. I'm Kung Fu Panda. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kicking butt by accident. I'm Jackie Chan, you know. I don't want no problem, you know. And he's just beating everybody up by accident, just trying to keep the peace. But yeah, man. So I'm just excited to have a shofar. I'm blowing it everywhere. But had he given it to some Christian person, I want you to blow this, they probably were gonna, oh man, I don't know, it's too much. That's a heavy burden. I don't know if I can do that. I'm too embarrassed. I'm like, oh, this is cool. I'm excited. I'm blowing it everywhere, doing the will of Yah, not knowing. That's kind of how that played out. And so, you know, so I learned the feast there. And so what I'm getting to is going back to Ray Bentley. You know, I would still go back and visit his little services, right? I don't like to use the word church because that's from that pagan etymology of Circe, Kirky, deity of goddess of sorcery and deception and all that. And so yeah, and illusions and circles and circus and all that. Circe, circle, Kirky. So I still visit that assembly every now and then. So I don't know why I went to visit around like Xmas, Christmas time, December. Not really intending there to be a Christmas message. I thought they were messianic because they just showed me how to keep the feast. They put me on the Feast of Trumpets and all of that. So I'm thinking they're messianic because we started learning that on our own. Me and my wife started. Then we started getting our research on, Googling, and I was researching like what other feasts, you know, tabernacles. We kept tabernacles. We kept all that time, right? With Maranatha. But then right after the feast, I just stayed in downtown. And then when Christmas came around, you know, I was going to other assemblies trying to teach them about the feast, blowing the shofar. But when Christmas started coming around, they started putting up Christmas trees. So I'm like, man, I ain't trying to be around all that, you know, because I came out of that. So I'm thinking Maranatha came out of that too. I'm thinking they're messianic. So I go to Maranatha. It was restored my memory. I'm remembering where my mind was. I was tracking all this. So let's go to Maranatha during the Christmas time because they're not going to be doing Christmas. So we can have a good, clean service there. So we go. Would you know it? Man, they have a Christmas service going on with the Christmas tree and everything. And I'm like, what? You know, like, they're mixed. They're like both. And so it was an issue too. It was a big dividing in the assembly, a big talk about that, a big hype about doing that. And even so they had this guy as like a guest singer, you know, in the band. And he got up and he wanted to kind of, you know, clear things out. He wanted to kind of make peace. So he's like, he wanted to set the stage. So he's like, he's getting the music going and it's about to start. And he's like, yeah, there's a lot of talk about, you know, Christmas, if we should be doing it or not, because it's a pagan holiday and it has nothing to do with the Messiah. But you know what? Yahusha came and died for us to forgive us our sins. So I say, hey, why not? We're forgiven. Let's go ahead and go nuts, you know, or something. So he tried to make it look like, you know, we can do that. I didn't even pull a thing and the bus just knew to stop here and open. That's Yahuwah. And no one even pulled for the bus to stop here. Thank you.
Have a good day, man.
You too.
I go last here.
Say, look. The Malakim found him a reason to stop there because the dude had a question. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man. Have a good day.
You too. See what I'm saying? Like, that's the Malak things I'm talking about in a moment. I was supposed to get off here to do my laundry, but I forgot. I'm just so caught up in the video, I forgot to pull the string so I can get off and do my laundry here. But Yahuwah provided an alternate way to, like, I don't have to worry about nothing. He allowed some old man to, like, bus driver stop. I have a question about something or something. I don't know, but no one pulled it. He just stopped him to ask him. So the bus driver pulled over just to ask him. And I looked and realized, oh yeah, it's my stop. So praise Yahuwah. And that's how my chai be. It'd be like working out like Kung Fu Panda. You know, my life be Kung Fu Panda up and I don't gotta worry. I just eat, you know what I'm saying, and sleep, take lots of naps, give thanks to Yahuwah. Life is, my chai is good. Really good. You know what I'm saying? I just get praise to Yahuwah. Malakim, praise Yah. Shalom. And he allows me to enjoy the tender mercies now. Like I've been noticing that, like, because I'm celibate now, you know, and he's giving me a lot of power now in the Ruach. Hey, what's up, brother? Shalom. And one of those is like, as a tender mercy, like, I'm not gonna be doing nothing, but as a tender mercy, he knows my heart, man. Like, not in that sense, like, he knows my heart, I can do whatever I want, but like, he knows I'm really trying to be righteous about it. I don't be looking to the right or to the left. I don't trying to be lust after these women. I don't do none of that. And but as a tender mercy, he knows that, you know, man, something about like when I'm having a bad day, he'll put like a beautiful countenance in my present, in my way, like a beautiful woman, you know, like, you know, usually white women for me, but you know, he'll put a beautiful, like, you know, brunette or whatever, and like just to admire, like, it'll just like kind of make me. It's like a stress reliever, like, she's beautiful, like, and that's not a lusty way. I just enjoy what Yahuwah did, and then like for a moment, and then just keep on going, look away, and that's it. I don't like lust. I don't take in all the rest of that. But that he does that every time I notice I'm having a bad day, or even as a reward, like, and I'm just like, oh cool, like they'll be like saying hi or whatever, but it's like I can be trusted with that, right? You know, so like always you see like the guy that can be trusted around women and stuff is always surrounded around women. But when he can't, because he's tripping, obviously there's no women around him, but he's always trying to hunt him down and, like, you know, what's that word? Stalk him. But anyways, back to the testimony. So yeah, you know, like I decided I'm gonna go back to Maranatha, you know, to get out of being around the Christmas trees and all. Okay, so this dude was playing on the stage and talking about who cares, like we're forgiven, we can do whatever we want. Basically what he was saying, and he's like, and everybody's like, yeah, like, well, even the assemblies divided. Some people were like quiet, like, what? They looked at each other like, did he just say this? And other people were like, yeah, man, whatever, man, Christmas all the way, yeah, Christmas tree, you know what I'm saying, kind of thing. And like the Ruach just, when he said that, man, the Ruach hit me with this fire, you know. I was like, the Ruach hit me with this fire, and he's like, go up there and like, man, just preach him the truth, just go up there and hit him with the truth. I don't care. Like, I didn't care. Like, his Ruach was in me. When his Ruach's in you, you're ready to die. You know what I'm saying? I was ready to die. His Ruach came in me. I was ready to die. I got upstage. I just got up. I'm like, hold on. I just went up there like they were kids and tripping, and I'm about to set them all in order. But these little kids are a little bit grown and are multitudes and have some strength on them, so they were able to pull me off stage and beat me down, if you know what I mean. Kids, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I got up on stage, and I said, they're playing the music. I literally just walked up, grabbed the mic like from him, and I was like, hold on, check this out, man. What he just said was error. That's wicked. That's an abomination. You can't just say that Yahusha forgave us, so now we can be wicked and do these abominations and do these sins. Deuteronomy 12:30 says, don't do like the other nations, how they keep their holidays, their feasts, and then do it to me. I will not accept it. It's an abomination. Don't do it unto me like that. We should not be doing Christmas. We should not be doing Easter. All this. And by then, it only took about that time, and I was already being tackled down. But they got the point. Like, I did my job. I said everything I needed to say. I was almost waiting to be tackled down, because I was like, okay, I kind of said everything I needed to say. And I was like, do I put the mic up and sit down? I'm like, nah, I know they're already coming. I might as well just keep blabbing around something else so they come and tackle me down, you know? So that's how that went down. And yeah, man, the Ruach hit me, and he's like, you know, Yahuwah at that point told me, yeah, man, I was upset. I was upset with the pastor that he allows that, Pastor Ray Bentley, because he done. If you look at his old sermons, you can tell he was like a young pastor searching the truth. Look how Yahuwah allowed me to like show his little testimony on, because he wants to show you a lesson with his life, with this guy. I don't know where he ended up or how that went down, but what I can say is, if you even look at his old sermons, he doesn't look like a traditional polished up pastor. Like, he doesn't speak like the way pastors are polished up to speak. He speaks like a genuine guy. Like, he's got his own individual mind and personality. He's like, he thinks for himself. I love that about him, because you can look at him back then, and he's like already speaking against like false doctrine and false spiritual things, and he's sort of like, and I know there's more truth, and we just need to ask you to help us seek, you know, to find more revelation. He's all about that, and that was when he was young. And then you look at him now, he found the truth about the feast, you know, but still doing Sunday, still doing the pagan holidays, and he didn't come out of that. And I know Yahuwah was trying to reveal him all that, because how are you going to accept all the feast days and all that, but not accept the whole truth? So something was hindering. This is where we can reverse engineer that. If something wasn't accepted, it's because there's something else in the way, a stumbling block. And it was because the enemy had already got in a little too deep with him and put that foothold of that replacement theology. He had that replacement theology mentality where, because he says it, I just saw one of his videos, oh, that's where it was. That's where stumbling was. So he believes that, like, those the Jewish people over there are really Israelites, that they're really Jewish, that they're really Judah, and they're fulfilling prophecy, that whole thing. He drank the Kool-Aid. He just got fascinated about the feast, is all it was. I mean, because it was truth, and he's like, well, we keep Easter, right? But it should be Passover, Resurrection. We should keep the other feasts too. And that's where it linked into his desire to want to do those feasts. And actually, because, you know, you can see the prophetic implication that the fall feasts are prophetic to Yahusha's return. So, I mean, that's a given. Like, he blew that thing up. He made that anointed. He was anointed with that teaching, with that word. That was like his bread and butter, is to teach the feast from a Christian point. And I guess that's all Yahuwah wanted to use it for. He wanted to use it as a stage, as a middle ground where Christianity could come and look in and hear all the words they're familiar with, the types of messages they're familiar with, the type of doctrine, the holidays, you know, what they do already. And just like that, it was just a stage where, and then from there they can receive the truth about the feast. It was all it was, just to get that next nugget, because he loved Yahusha so much and prophetic things. He just loved the prophetic implication, how, you know, Yahusha's tied into the fall feast too, that we don't celebrate. That's all about his second coming, you know, the Day of Trumpets, right? And people say that's the coming of Yahusha, but I believe that's him coming in the form of the wrath first, you know, like the judgments, like warning signs. You know, like when someone's coming, you know, and they're coming in haste, speedily, you know what I'm saying, like you hear their car roaring, you know, coming ahead, or they send messengers ahead, or, you know, they have all these dumb ways going through my mind, but I'll just say, like a car, you know, when it comes, like the smoke that it's throwing out, the dust in front of it, you know, hits you first before they get out the car and show up, right? So all this like stuff is happening first. That's the trumpets, you know, the shaking, the rattling, the noise, and it's the warning signs that it's a part of his coming, but it's at the last trump. The last trump is on Day of Atonement. That's the real coming. And he says that, I mean, they tie it all together, you know. And to get a little prophetic real quick, like I was just looking at it. If you notice, the walls of Jericho, right? They went around 7 times, right? And then on the 7th day, they went around 7 times. They went around a time, you know, one time I think each of the 6 days. And on the 7th day, they went around 7 times, is what it was. So on the 7th day, they went around 7 times. That's when the judges really came down. And so that's prophetic to the history of the humanity timeline. Like, you can look at it like prophetic to the Jubilees, right? Like every year, how many Sabbaths of years do you have in a Jubilee? Right? 7. Look at the Jubilee year. Alright, let's slow down. Look at the Jubilee year. Every 50 years, it's really every 49 years, you blow the shofar to proclaim a release, and the 50th year is the Jubilee year, the year of rest. Like the release is happening, everything's at rest. The 49th year, you proclaim it though. That's when you blow the shofar. What's that 49 what is it divisible by? 7. How many 7s? 7 times 7. So really what you're looking at is just like, you know, the walls of Jericho. They went around 7 times, and on the 7th day, I'm sorry, let me go back. They went around for 7 days, 1 time each. But on the 7th day, they went around 7 times. And that is actually prophetic to the Jubilee year. It's like every 7 years, you know, is like a day in the walls of Jericho. It's like we're going around, blowing the trumpet, something big happens. And we do that for 7 times, right? Every 7 years, it's a big one. Every 7 years, boom, boom, boom. But that's really one time going around the walls of Jericho. Boom, 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, right? 1 7 year, one, you know, it's like it's a ripple. And so every 7 years is like going around the city of Jericho 1 time. That's what I'm trying to get at. Man, I say like 20 different ways except the easiest way to the last one. Every time, every 7 years, a Jubilee, or like the Sabbath year. The Jubilee is the 50th year, but they call them the Sabbath year. Every Sabbath year is really like going around the walls of Jericho 1 time. Every Sabbath year, going around the walls of Jericho 1 time. And then you go around 7 times, right? The walls of Jericho. Well, how many Jubilee years is that? That's 70. It's 7 years. So you do the math. 7 times 7 is 49. So on the 49th year, it's reflective. It's synonymous to the 7th day of you know, the day of trumpets, of going around the wall of Jericho 7 times on the 7th day is on the Jubilee year, right? Because, let me try to break it down again. So every 7 years is a Jubilee, is a Sabbath rest, but it's like a big deal, and so you blow the shofar on those day of trumpets too in the Jubilee, in those Sabbath rest years. What I'm trying to say is like those day of trumpets on the Sabbath years is what 1 time around, 1 day around, you know, the walls of Jericho was. And so the next 7 years, and on the next Sabbath year, they have another day of trumpets. That's like going around the 2nd day, right, on the walls of Jericho. And then 7 years later, on that day of trumpets, it's like going around the 3rd day of the walls of Jericho. And then the 4th day, 7 years later, right? And then the 5th day, the 6th day, and the 7th day. And what happens on the 7th? On the 7th, I should have just stuck with it slow. What happens on the 7th Sabbath week, right? We had one Sabbath week, 2nd, 3rd, all the way to the 7th. Well, there's another day of trumpets, but there's an extra day, the last trump. It's on the Day of Atonement. And so you have this extra memorial blowing the trumpets. And that can be looked at synonymously on the 7th day of the 7th day around the walls of Jericho, where they blew it 7 times going around, because it was like completion. It was like, you know, the big one, and it was the proclaiming, right? And so you know, the release, right, the inheritance, you know, give Yahusha what's theirs. And so, you know, the walls came down, right? The seven times it went around Jericho is also prophetic to the 7 trumpets of Revelation. You know, it's like you got a history, you know, a record of time going by and blowing the trumpets around the nations, around the world, around the walls of Jericho. And things are starting to shake up and happen, you know, every 7 years, right? You know, 1 day, every day around the walls. But then you get to the 7th day, which is every 7 years until the 7 sevens, which is 49 years. And then you got the Jubilee year. And that's where you just go all out and really blow the shofar. Even on the Day of Atonement, you blow the shofar. And that's when the captives are released. The inheritance is given to Yahusha. They come back to their land, to the land of their inheritance. And that's prophetic to the new YAHUSHA. And that's what's going to happen in the end. Is these pandemics are the trumpet blasting. These are all these pandemics are walking around basically the Jericho of the world one day, then the next day, every 7 years, right? Over a history of time, over a period of time. That's what this is. It's not literally one day, but it's over a period of like every 7 years. If you want to stretch it out, that's why he will give it that way. Like one day is like 7 years. Also, you know, it's different ways you can calibrate all of that. There's different gears, right? You can look at a gear on a bike and anyways, I'm not gonna get into the parable, but you can understand it. I know you can make that click already. You know, so it's this little calibration of, you know, every day is like 7 years. So when it comes to the walls of Jericho and the year of Jubilee. And so, you know, like you can like sum it up and say prophetically, like every 7 years there's pandemics, and then the 50th year is the big one, right? The year of Jubilees, that's where something shifts, the economy changes, there's a whole new kind of world order, something new happening. It's a period to let us go free, to give us the opportunity to come together in some kind of way, because those are the year of release, a year that, you know, nations fall and other ones rise up, and you know, just everything shifts around like that. And that's what the Jubilee year is all about. And so when is that? When is that Jubilee year? When is the proclaiming that 49th year, that 7th day that they go around the walls of Jericho 7 times? When is that? Right before the walls come down. That is actually this year, 2022. 2022 is the 49th year. 2022 is the 49th year, which is the 7th Sabbath year, to proclaim the 7th Sabbath. But the rest is on the 50th year. So it's kind of, you know, not to get confused, but this is the year that on the Day of Atonement, you know, we're supposed to blow the trumpet also, just like the Day of Trumpets. So on the Day of Atonement, it's not just like about, you know, fasting and afflicting your being and all that from the evening, the eve of the 9th, the beginning of the 9th to the end of the 9th, you fast, and then on the 10th day you offer it up. But on the 10th day, when you offer it up with blowings of the shofar, because that's supposed to be the coming of YAHUSHA. You know, we've cleansed ourselves, we fasted, we did, you know, we're ready to go. That's supposed to be when we blow it on the Day of Atonement, that he comes on that day. And so no one knows the day or the hour, but that's what Day of Atonement is prophetic too. And it's going to be, this 49th year is the proclaiming of it. Oh wow, it would actually be this year. I was thinking it's going to be next year. The 50th year. 50th year is the rest. That should already be the new Yerushalayim. The 50th year is supposed to be the millennial reign. I'm tripping. I was thinking on the 50th year you blow it again. And that's the coming. The 49th is like the warning. But actually the 49th year is like to proclaim the rest that starts, which is the millennial reign, New Jerusalem. So it's actually this year. I'm tripping. So this Day of Atonement, I don't think Yahushua's going to return, because like that's when the bride is made ready, and you know, through much trial, like gold refined in the fire, and the great tribulation, all that. So it ain't going to happen this year at Day of Atonement, but we can sure as heck rehearse it. See, I shouldn't be saying that on the actual one. We sure can be rehearsing for the real one, and that gives us another 50 years. And that's where we're at with that. So, because it's that the Jubilee, the coming of Yahushua, the Day of Atonement with the long, loud blast, you know, it's every 50 years. And this is the year, you know, and then we rest. The next year, 2023, is a Sabbath rest, a whole year. And so basically, well, you just get the prophetic implications. You know, you can't, obviously, we're in Babylon, can't do that necessarily like that, but, you know, we get the, well, if you can, do it. You know, that's the day it's supposed to go, the year release, you know, come out of Babylon. That this could be, this, if anything, this is the main year we need to go, like, to the camps, to the assemblies, not to the camps assemblies, but to, like, the homestead assemblies, like the ones that are gathering in the wilderness, because the whole biblical imagery that you see all throughout the scripture is always about land and harvest and fruit and fig trees and all of that. Why? Yahuwah made sure to, like, beat our heads with poetic imagery of the harvest because we're supposed to be living among it. We were created to dwell with that. You see what I'm saying? And when we're not, there's a problem there. And so, you know, this 49th year, this Day of Atonement, this release, it is my, you know, strong conviction that, you know, we need to go back and start gathering together, start finding lands and homesteads, communities to dwell with and grow land together. And that is our version of our, you know, year of release, coming out of Babylon and coming back to the land of our inheritance. Because we can't go to, you know, it's not about that land, but it's about prophetically demonstrating it in some kind of way, right? And so we know we got to leave somewhere and go somewhere else where it's supposed to be something more, you know, Yahuwah honoring Kadash, right? And the way he set things up to be the way we're supposed to actually live. So that would mean leaving the cities and going to, like, you know, these homestead lands, wildernesses, whatever you want to call them, and live off the land. That's how you keep, you know, that's how you would keep this year. That's how you would keep the year of Jubilee, the Day of Atonement. You can't just say, oh, I fasted, this and that, but it says it's the year of Jubilee, and it's a year of release to go back to the land of your inheritance, you know, to the land. Like, go back to land and work it, you know, like live off it. Come back from where you have gone to sell, buy, sell, trade, and make a profit. Like, come back, you know, to the land of your inheritance. That's about. It's about land. Living among the people. It's about us being regathered. That's why the real one is going to be the New Jerusalem. That's the New Yerushalayim. That's why it's the rapture. You know, he's going to gather us back to the land, but not here. It's going to be in the air. The New Yerushalayim, to meet Yahusha in the air and descended on earth. Then there's that one. But the closest thing we can do right now to prophetically reflect that is us going with communities now. Now at this point, we need to be ardent about doing that. Now this is like, you know, rubber meets the road, about to get into the tread, and so you want to make sure you take your last mileages and then take it to where you can just leave the truck on the side of the road and then you're done. You know what I'm saying? Praise Yah. So hallelujah for that. Thank you, Yah, for your Malakim. Bear witness. And so yeah, that's it. And so going back to Pastor Ray Bentley, I thought they were all about that. I thought that Maranatha was going to be right there. So when they gave this, you know, Christmas message, and I got up on stage and they beat me down and kicked me out, Yahuwah basically told me, like, man, like, this is where I want you to warn him. Like, my face is against him, you know, because like he was open enough to learn all these feast things. We all have our reasons why we learn things, you know, take to things more than others, right? But we need to get the whole truth. And so because of that, like that whole replacement theology, he was set on that. You have to understand, I just look back at his old, you know, messages, his old videos. I don't know how it just came up on my feed, but I feel like Yahuwah wanted me to see it, right? So like Yahuwah will bring things on your feed and you just need to click it, even though sometimes, you know, it's like some doctrinal, informational something, and you just too lazy, you just don't feel it. You're hardening your heart. So I clicked it. I'm like, well, that's Ray Bentley when he was young. What? So, you know, and Yahuwah made it make sense to me. And he basically allowed me to see, like, where this dude, like, where this brother, maybe, like, kind of fell, lost his way. And you can see it back then in the videos. He was trying to suck up to Pastor Chuck Smith of Calvary Costa Mesa or whatever. In this old video, you can see it. He's like it's like a video from a Christian conference. It's a video from a Christian conference, and Pastor Chuck Smith was like presenting him, like having him like do a sermon to show whom he's grooming up and polishing up to kind of like be a part of his, like, his whole thing, you know, his whole organization. And when you see him, Pastor Ray Bentley, talk, he does a lot of, like, you know, sucking up, edifying, if you will, but edifying him, Chuck Smith. But it's sort of like you could see him sucking up, kissing butt, because he's trying to really get into a secure position with him. So when you see that kind of happening, that lets you know at some point, even like his heart where he was searching Yah, he could have found all that truth without being with Chuck Smith. But what I realized is looking at it, he wanted the position though too. Like, yeah, he was being effective, but I could see moments where he was getting, you know, lusty. He loved the adoration, the position. He loved the position more. He wanted it, and so he fought for it. So he was sucking up to Pastor Chuck Smith, kissing butt and everything. You can see that. Like, it's like you can see that whole like trying to like please man instead of Yahuwah thing. But he still had the right heart for Yah, but he wanted the position too. We all have our thing. We all have our cake and want to eat it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I can't be married, because I was struggling with, you know, like polygamy. Oh, it's clean, so that's what I want to do. But it's like, nah, I'm just going to be celibate. I'm not going to mess around, so I can stay straight and narrow, make sure I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to look at, really analyze myself too. My motives, make sure I'm doing everything pure. But yeah. You can plainly see that was the case, and part of what Chuck Smith's theology was replacement theology. You know, like Christians replaced Israel, so like the Jewish people are the stick of Judah, Christianity the stick of Israel, and basically that kind of goes down a rabbit hole and a depth concrete, you know, welded together tight doctrine that, like, you know, we're Gentiles and they're Jewish, so we keep our Gentile holidays, and that's clean to Yahuwah because we have YAHUSHA. You know, look how big Christianity has grown, so he's with it, and they have their Jewish thing, and he's with that too. You know, but you look at Ephesians 2, and he says he's going to bring together one renewed man. You know what I'm saying? The stick of Judah and the stick of Ephraim shall be one in his hand. That means one mind. That means one religion, one doctrine, one Torah, one set of beliefs, not two. Gentiles do Christmas and Easter, and Jewish people don't. They do the biblical feast. Nah, one renewed man, that we're all going to do the biblical feast. What does it say in Zechariah 14? It says that all the nations shall gather round about and keep the feast of Sukkot, that they shall come to Jerusalem to keep Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, Sukkot. And so, it's actually Sakut, that's right, because there's no U. So Sakut, hallelujah. Hey, little malak honking for me. But yeah, you know, so like he was ingrained. I was just by watching his videos, you know, you could tell there's like someone that like they're just like completely drinking the Kool-Aid, they're mixing it. You know what I'm saying? Like they're not just drinking it, but they're working in the back mixing the Kool-Aid. They provide the ingredients for the Kool-Aid. Well, that's to the point that Ray Bentley got with replacement theology, you know, Jewish people, and they're the 144,000 coming back, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, and then like we're the Gentiles grafted in, but we stay how we are, and that whole thing, he's mixing that he was making the ingredients for that Kool-Aid, but like we're still to bring the, you know, he was still advocating for them, and you know, pray for the peace of Israel, and Yahuwah favors those who favors the Jews, the Israelites. So he was like, so, you know, he's a big part of that whole construct of Zionism, like all the Christian churches should be tithing to Israel and all that. So he was all about that, and trying to help them get the third temple. So that's wicked, because that's building the synagogue of Satan. At the same time, we're Gentiles, so we have our JC, our pagan names, our pagan ways, and the Xmas tree, and that's wicked, and that's an abomination. So it's like wicked in the worst ways. But yeah, Yahuwah can use something like that. See, I'm just young and dumb. I wasn't discerning any of those things at that high level yet. I was just like, ooh, the Feast of Trumpets, what is all this? And that's how you want to be, mind of a child. Eat the meat, spit the bones, just see the good that is applicable. Like, only be able to see truth, don't see the BS. Otherwise, that might keep you from receiving the truth. And that's why what I love, that I was able to, like, Yahuwah kept me dumb enough to, like, be that way, to see the truth and not trip on the rest. Till now, I'm just like, wow, just now going back. And he's like, yes, like I had a hard time even putting that together now. But, you know, he led me to that just now and wanted me to address it, mainly because of this. Because after I after I went to the, you know, to that service, that Christmas service, unintending, like I didn't have the intention, without the intention, unintending to like go up there and speak out on stage and get beat down. After that all happened, you know, I kind of like, I even fell off on my ways too, because like at that time, that's when the Hebrew Israelites came into my chai and tested me, and they showed me some things, you know. That's why I got the name YAHUSHA. Then I had, you know, Seventh-day Adventists come on a program one day and teach me some prophecy, and I should be keeping the Sabbath. So I'm like, all right, so I'm just going to do all of it. I'm going to keep all the commandments. We're going to keep the Sabbath. We're going to keep the feast. We're going to call him YAHUSHA. Jehovah's Witness taught me that, call him by his name. But it's not Jehovah, it's Yahuwah. You know, more accurate, Yahuwah. So I'm like, okay, Yahuwah, okay, cool, YAHUSHA. We start putting on a seat, eating clean, and that's where there's sort of like a unequal yokeness happening with me and my wife at the time. She was going with it, but her heart wasn't in it. But at the same time, you know, you don't want somebody whose heart's not in it and just doing it for you. And at the same time, because the Hebrew Israelite thing and other things started introducing to me that doctrine of polygamy, plural marriage. And I never even thought of that. I was cool with just like the one wife thing. Didn't like, I wasn't even having lust issues or tripping on looking at anybody else. It wasn't until that I was just like a dumb person. Like, oh wow, cool. We should build like a tribe nation, because you know a lot of doctrines talk about that. Build your community with multiple wives. Like that's what Israel did, 4 wives, and so that's where that went south, and that became, you know, where it became something pure at first that I was intending to do. I was genuine. It did become lustful, you know, because you have to entertain a little bit of romanticism. You don't have to, but we were all in our flesh still. We didn't understand, so we thought like, well, we're doing this. There has to be some chemistry and some, you know, romantic stuff going on. So we didn't understand the concept of just like doing your duty and laying your life down for your nation into like, you know, just it's just business kind of thing, and keep it. So we're all brothers and sisters here, you know, in the Ruach. So we didn't think like that. We still ain't thinking like that. Like I still had the concept, but that was back in like 2013 or 2014, 15, about 2015, 16 actually, about 2015, 16, that I came up to the, you know, plural marriage, polygamy doctrine, and saw that we weren't like mature enough for it, like in the Ruach, like, you know, especially women, even the men though. Like I can't speak for men, but I speak for myself. But I did notice men, like, yeah, we're doing it for lustful reasons. Like, you just had a lot of those Hebrew Israelites, like, oh, if you come into her, she's basically considered your wife. So they're just, like, sleeping with whoever, and, like, I have 10 wives, because they slept with 10 girls and whatever, and, like, who knows. And she was sleeping with other people, and it was just all nasty and a mess. And I was trying to do it right, but, you know, the sisters wanted chemistry, romance, and they wanted threesomes and everything too. You know, this one sister I met, like, yeah, I want to be a second wife. Like, you know, I can't wait to have a threesome and all that. I'm like, what? Like, man, what? No, we're not doing this. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. Like, I'm trying to be biblical. I'm trying to do this like YAHUSHA, like Israel, you know, 4 wives, 12 tribes, you know, kind of thing. Build a community and nation. You talking about nasty stuff and romantic stuff, and like, man, we're not ready. And so I'm thinking, give it time or whatever. But by then I got lusty. I was already thinking, like, my mind was kind of warped, and like, we're gonna plunder the women of the other nations like they plundered us and took our women and raped them. And so that was a doctrine that came out somewhere. And then that's where, like, I met this Russian woman, and I was like, I just told her that. I was just trying, like, you know, walking Ruben to school, and heard us, and she's like, oh yeah, I see you got the horn, or what do you believe, basically? Well, you know, I just started talking to her, and I was like, yeah, basically, like, what do you believe? And I told her, I'm like, yeah, we believe we're gonna like, it's gonna be paid back, recompense. Like, you know, the nations have raped our women, and we're gonna take, you know, back our land and all this, and you know, he's going to help us conquer our enemies who oppress us, and we're going to take their women and rape them and multiply the earth with them. Well, like wives or something, I don't know in the right way, but that kind of thing. And I don't know if that got her hot and bothered, but that started us with a dialogue that led for a couple years as friends. You know what I'm saying? But in the end, that, you know, that's where I ended up committing adultery and fornicating and falling under a spell right there, and fell away. And then the whole like Caesar's Messiah came up, like Yahusha wasn't really the Messiah, and I was already like slipping with my flesh. So all these things started coming against me, put a chink in my armor, and I just fell for it. And I'm like, I'm gonna just take a break from all this right now, Yahusha and all that, because I don't know what's what right now anymore, and I'm already like lusting in my heart or something, and I'm already going down this path. And I just like, you know what? I just trust Yahusha that, you know what? If you are who you say you are, pull me out of this. Like right now, I don't have the power to stop, but you know, when you see I'm about to die and I have no more strength, when I cry out, please, I'm gonna be eventually sick and tired of it. And he is that loving and compassionate. He's like, alright, like he will do that, but you really got to come to a point where you're sick and tired, sick and tired, sick and tired. You're done. And so that took for me to, you know, I got divorced. My wife left me after that. Started having a few little open relationships. Got on meth and was like pimping a German girl out of the hotel, and she was really pimping herself out. She just made me look like the pimp. I was just kind of just there for the ride. But you know, just things that I didn't even want to do, and all of that I didn't want to do, obviously. But basically, it got to a point where, you know, I was like, you know, demons started manifesting. Like, started getting on meth, and I still kept coming back to Yahuwah. I never lost my sight of Yahuwah. Like, the Caesar's Messiah kind of shook me about Yahusha just a little bit, because I don't want to be wrong, but I didn't go and study deep enough. And I think I just had pride. Like, I just wanted to be cool and have the most diverse doctrine, because at that time, like, every truth that came up seemed to be something that was diverse. Like, just keeping Sabbath instead of Sunday was diverse. And we're like, well, it's a narrow gate, you know? And then keeping the feasts instead of the pagan holidays was very diverse. Well, it's a narrow gate, you know? Very few are going to find it. So that was my argument. And then it was like, call on Yahuwah, Yahusha, not JC and all that. Well, it's a narrow gate, you know? Well, polygamy and instead of a monogamous marriage, you know, to build a kingdom. Well, it's a narrow gate, you know? And then it was like, Yahusha wasn't the real Messiah, you know, Caesar's Messiah thing. I was like, man, well, it's a narrow gate, I guess, huh? You know what I'm saying? I was like, man, it's a narrow gate. But then I'm like, that came from Yahusha, so now I can't even say it's a narrow gate. Now I don't even know what's what. And now I just want a bunch of wives, and I don't even know for what. And like, man, you know what? And then just, you know, enemy using things slowly, little lust, little thing, little, like, want to have a good time. Slowly reels you in, you know, bringing you back to some worldly adventures and some worldly good times, the love of the world, you know, going out for ice cream and this and that, and little museums, and you sort of start enjoying the world. And like, you know what? Yeah, I don't need religion. Like, that was just like keeping me like under a rock. You know, I can be a good person and still enjoy all this stuff and go to a museum and like a Broadway show. And this is why with the Russian. And then that led to like the adultery and the fornication and the, what do you call it, an affair. And then that led to my divorce. And then, like, I'm gonna put religion aside for a minute, and then just like open relationships, and then meth. And then like I was always like, Yahuwah, like, I know you're real. I'm just, you know, Caesar's Messiah thing shook me up, and I don't know, I'm not sure about that. I just wanted, and like I realized I just like was being proud. Like, I just wanted it to be like, what's a narrow gate, you know? Like, but I wasn't thinking like I'm like rejecting Yahusha, you know? Like, that's not cool. And that's not cool. Like, I shouldn't have risked that. And I'm grateful. I'm like very, like, I'm Baruch, man. Like, you have no idea. It's a miracle to be alive right now. You know, he restored me and gave me kindness, bring me back into his fold like that. Now, that's the 99, and the one that goes astray and comes back, man. Because that ain't just like, oh, you were lost and like you're found. Like, we didn't even know we were lost. So it's like we weren't even like found. We just weren't even in the fold yet. He brings us in the fold, and then we get lost. You know, that was when I got lost. And then he found me again. You know what I'm saying? Like, there he found me. And there's more rejoicing in Shamayim. That's why there's rejoicing in Shamayim, because that dude already was on a path and had a way, you know? Yahuwah was already making plans with that person, you know, and then that dude done fell and got lost. Like, what? So Yahusha had to find him after he done lost himself journeying through the hills and the mountains and the rocks and the webs and the thickets and the thorns, the rose bushes with the thorns, and done cut himself all up and, you know, hanging off a cliff. Yahusha found me dead in my sins and revived me, CPR'd me and washed me and nourished me and had PTSD, and he brought me back to Chai. Praise Yah. And then it was at that time when as he was restoring me just right off of meth, this was like 2019, that he told me to go back to Pastor Ray Bentley's you know, assembly, Maranatha, and go back and check up on them, see where they're at. So I went back, and I was still recovering on meth. I'm like, dang, I just came back to the fold, and you had me drive straight down to Cali. So once again, like, using the, you know, he uses all things for good. The only reason I came back down to Cali was because, like, I renounced and denounced meth and drugs, and, you know, I was, even alcohol, I still drank a little bit, but I was like, I'm probably gonna quit this. But for sure, weed like made demons get a hold of me and like caused me to scatter in 7 different ways, literally inside my being, inside myself, like just freaking out, like a, you know, leaf will drop and I'm, you know, freak out. And that's one of the curses. And so, you know, I had somebody near and dear to my heart come by, and, you know, we hung out, and, you know, they were smoking some weed, and, you know, we were hanging out in the back, and I decided to smoke some. That was my decision. You know, I was like, man, let me hit that, man. You know, just a little weed, you know, and had my ram's horn. You know, where I'd been blowing it for the Sabbath or something. I'm over here smoking weed or something. And, man, just me hitting that weed, there were some demons in there, and they had the message, and they told me, run and never return. Like, they had me run from my life, my chai. That's literally the only way I can describe it in a simple form, is I just hit that weed, and I felt like people were out to get me, and there's somebody plotting, scheming on me to kill me, and I just tripped out, because I guess the method, just Yahuwah's will, because I said I renounced and denounced that, and I've done that contract before. I renounced and denounced weed, and I held that for like a good year. I just renounced and denounced that, like, you know, a few months ago, kind of thing, and then like I'm already falling back. Like, I should be more ardent, more fearful, and I'm like being more weak. He's like, nah, you gotta get the demons on you. And so I hit the weed, and I'm freaking out, and they're like, I get in my car, and I just, you know, actually I remember I was already high, and I drove around to I went somewhere, but I was already freaking out. And then I remember this was like right before Christmas. This was like December 1st. This was like the beginning of December. And I remember my somebody talking to me from the house I lived, in my mom's house. They were like, hey man, we're gonna put up Christmas lights. You know, if you want to be a part of that or not or what. I know you don't believe in it. And I'm like, oh shoot. And I was like, yeah, I'm already freaking out, and there's Christmas lights stuff going on. I'm out, because that's like idolatry to me. I'm coming back to the Torah. You know what I'm saying? Sure enough, I'm pulling up, man. There's already lights up. There's already all that's going on. You know what I mean? And that's it. All I needed to see was them Christmas lights. And that's it. And I'm freaking out. And I'm like, I just ran in there. And it was funny because I always kept my clothes in my duffel bag. Like, I never settled and like started putting my stuff away in drawers and hanging them up as much. I always kept most of it in my, like, I wash and do laundry, and I put it right back in my duffel bag, like intending to, like, I'm gonna leave soon. I have a feeling. And there it was. And so now this wasn't when I went homeless. This was like when I just left for a few months, and then I came back. Then I went homeless and left my house, and I came back to San Diego again. It's crazy, back and forth a few times right here. But so I was driving up, and all of a sudden I see Christmas lights and everything, and I'm already tripping, thinking someone's out to get me. So I just run in, grab my duffel bag. No one even saw me, and I just run out, and I just took off to California. That was it. And I had work the next day. I remember, like, I had someone, you know, a friend from work, a coworker from work, call me. Like that morning as the sun was like rising where I was at. It was probably like 8, and I think I maybe went in at 7. I don't know. And it was like 8:39. and they're like, hey, you know, are you okay? You know, like they call, like message me, are you alright? I didn't see you come in. Are you sick? And I finally message back, no, I'm going to California. I'm not coming back. Like, I'm going to California. You know, I'm on the road now. Like, what? And like, yeah, let them know. And so, and when are you coming back? I don't know. And that was it. And it's like, but the whole time, man, I drove to California with like demons constantly talking crap to me, and you know, I'm just trying to. They kept me awake. I'll tell you that. Like, I was just, I don't know how I made it there, because I can go back in my mind and remember. I felt like I got there like in 2 hours. It just flew by so fast. I just remember, oh, look, that's the Grand Canyon. Oh, you know, like El Paso, Arizona, whatever, Phoenix, you know, Tuscan, you know, whatever. Oh yeah, San Diego, here we go. It just flew by like that to me. And praise Yah, I guess, I don't know, mercy. He just needed me here. But when I got here, you know, he started having me revisit people from the past that I had fallouts with, so had some repentance there, either on my part or their part, and it was all good. And I was trying to get right with Yah, going back and recompensing and doing stuff with the homeless, and it was only like, this is December, so it was only by a couple of weeks, boom, you know, he gave me the word again, and he said, go back to Ray Bentley, you know, his you know, his service or whatever, and see if they're still doing Christmas. And if they are, you know, I just want you to like not just keep the peace, you know, nod your head, and like, you know, shake the dust off your feet, because they know what you about. They already know who you are, because I got beat up there a few years ago, like in 2016 or something. This is 2019, 16, 17, 18, 19. It's been 3 years from 16 to 19. Maybe it was even 15. It might have been 4 years. But tell me why I get out and I'm walking up to the, you know, I bring a friend because that's who I was staying with, a lady, Mexican lady with a kid, and who's letting me stay in their apartment at the time. So I'm coming up with them. Security stops me. Security stops me at the door. And they're like, hold on, man. And they're like, are you Raul Abundis? Man, it's been 4 years. I'm barely walking up. Like, they didn't even have time to go check. The security guard was standing there the whole time watching me from the parking lot, coming up to the door and stopped me and said if I'm Raul Abundis. I'm like, what? I'm like, did they make y'all like stare at my picture during break or something? Like, these are the guys that are excommunicated because they done acted out, and like, you got to remember them in case they come back. I'm pretty sure that's what went on. I'm pretty sure every year since Christmas after that, they were like, okay, here's a, you know, terrorist type threat guy that every Christmas, you know, or not every Christmas, but he came by on Christmas and, you know, got up and all that, sounded the shofar basically, and rebuked us for doing it. So we're just gonna have to be on protocol every Christmas now and keep an eye out for this dude in case he comes back. How they know I was gonna come back? Man, that's a wicked thing to know I was gonna come back. That's like the devil telling them, of course I'm gonna come back, because they know that they're in the wrong. They're basically saying they know that the Ruach is gonna tell me to come back. And how are you gonna live with yourself like that, knowing that the Ruach is gonna tell me to come back? I didn't even know that the Ruach was gonna tell me to come back. They knew it. This was 4 years later. So I don't know, I guess like Christmas was coming up, so they pulled my picture out and probably blew it up big in the break room and made the security guards stare at me for a few hours or something, so they know what I look like when they see me a mile away. They recognize me, and that's how I think it went down. But I'm just, maybe I think I had a show. I didn't even have a shofar with me at that time. Did I? Yeah, I did. I think I did have my shofar. Yep. So that's probably what was a giveaway. But, you know, they knew me for the shofar. So I'm like coming a mile away with the shofar. It's been 4 years, and they stopped. Hold on, are you Raul Abundis? And like, yeah, I'm Raul Abundis. And like, how do you? And they're like, yeah, you're like excommunicated. You've been, you know, permanently whatever. Like, we can take you to jail right now for trespassing. But you know, we're trying to be cool and trying to be like, you know, respectful too. Like, are you here to cause any, you know, drama, or are you here to just attend service and chill? I'm like, I'm here to be at peace and just, you know, enjoy the service and chill. You know, check out the service and chill. Like, all right, cool, we're gonna take your word on it. But if you act up, you're gonna go to jail. You know, I'm like, all right, cool. I'm like, man, that's from one time in a Christmas service in 2015. And they still remember me in 2019. So anyways, I go in there. They do the little Christmas sing-along, Christmas special again. I'm like, dang. And I'm just looking mad. I'm like just, not looking mad, but I'm just looking serious. Like, I'm just scolding. You know what I'm saying? I'm not enjoying it at all whatsoever. The funny thing is the lady I was with, the Mexican lady, she's so into it. She don't, you know, I'm just staying with her, but she don't care. She's like, oh my gosh, like, it's so beautiful. Oh, she was looking over at me. So like we're being prophetic. She was like demonstrating the world, how they get all excited about that. She was like, nudging me, look. And I just was like, kind of giving the culture like, nah, no, not cool with that. And she was just like, oh, okay. And so like she demonstrated like the world, look. And I'm like, no. So they can see the reaction of yeah. Ya's like, no. You know what I'm saying? And so service is over, get up, dust my feet, and I think I did blow the shofar. You know what I'm saying? But that's not causing trouble. That's after the service, walked off, and I blew the ram's horn, and I think I did declare like a judgment. I said something about like judgments are coming, you know, and you are still keeping these feasts, and you should not be. But that's on you now. And I blew the ram's horn. Something like that. Something quick and small, and we got on. They're like cool about it. They're like, okay, cool, yeah, say whatever you want to say and go. And so that was 2019. Guess what happened right after that? COVID. Because that was December, Xmas, you know, January. Then what happened? January, February, March. You know, February, we already had COVID. COVID was already into San Diego by the end of February. I had just left, so it looked even more prophetic. Yahuwah was always exalting me, making me look good. Because I was blowing the ram's horn all over downtown again. Like, he just kept telling me to tell San Diego, judgments are coming, judgments are coming. So I'm like blowing around downtown by the Spire building, that, you know, red and yellow ketchup and mustard building. And I'm just blowing the shofar every Sabbath. Judgments are coming, repent. And all of a sudden, I leave. Yahuwah, I took this job and I got hurt and I started getting MRSA and infection. I'm like, you know what? I'm going back to Texas. Someone just told me just time to go back to Texas. So, Yahuwah told me time to go back to Texas. And this was like February 20th or something. So as soon as I'm driving back, I just drive straight through the same way. It felt like but a couple hours, and I get home. All of a sudden, I'm getting messages from people in San Diego that there's been like an outbreak of COVID, cases of it in San Diego right after I left. No one had it at the time. Like it was still in China. It just had barely became a thing out there. And then I left, and I saw like it's everywhere in San Diego, and then now it's all over the United States, right? And so I was like, man, Yahuwah like pulled me out at the right time. And so I'm on a res bed. You know, I'm looking like I'm messed up and afflicted, but really Yahuwah got me chilling. You did a good job. You just relax yourself, you know. But then eventually, you know, Yahuwah's still restoring to me the truth and the doctrine. He's revealing mysteries right there in the room of my parents' home. I got the revelation of the 7 trumpets of Revelation sounding off every 41 years. You know, the last one being the 1986, you know, Chernobyl, you know, Wormwood, right? That's the 3rd trumpet. Every 41 years, that puts us at 2027. The next one is going to be, and that's going to be the 4th trumpet that I saw, that the third of the sky was darkened, the third of the sun, you know, darkness, thick darkness and cloud. What is that? It's talking about, that's when there's war. Every time it's thick clouds, thick darkness, that's when the clouds of like the war, when like the cities are being burnt up. And that's talking about nuclear war. And that's when I received that revelation. Every 41 years. 1901, you know, it was a Russia-Japan war. First use of like, you know, big types of new tech explosives. And then 41 years later, you have 1945. That's Hiroshima, Nagasaki, the atomic bombs. And then 41 years from that, you got Chernobyl, a first kind of nuclear reaction that's bigger, that was even more, did more damage than the nuclear bombs, atomic bombs of Japan. You know, the waters were made bitter, right? And then 41 years, it's all having to do with nuclear technology. Every 41 years, it's always having to do with war and nuclear explosion, some kind of nuclear thing. So 41 years from 1986 brings you to 2027, and that's going to be a worldwide nuclear war. That's where you see Zechariah 5, and I saw, you know, a flying scroll, saw an atomic bomb flying. Those from that part of the earth to the other part. That's Zechariah 5. You can YouTube that. YouTube Zechariah 5, you know, nuclear war or something like that. You got all these little clips on it. So, alright, so Yahuwah gave me that in my parents' room. Because I felt like in the Ruach, they're wondering, where does he get these little revelations? I'm like, man, I got it while I was just in the room. While you're watching TV, I'm in that room listening to Yahuwah, like reading and just waiting to hear, like just studying, just putting it together in my mind. And so I taught them about it, and I try to get a message of repentance, and like we got to do away with these idols and throw away, trash that Virgin Mary statue and stop praying all that, and stop doing all that. They ain't trying to hear it. So Yahuwah told me to go, but I was kind of being a little stubborn about going because I didn't know where. But also I'm getting attacked by demons at night, you know, like especially like when my mom will be praying to the idols. I wake up and look, like, so the night that my mom would be praying to the statues would be the nights I get to attack most. They're like, I'm seeing them, I'm hearing them big time, they're just manifesting. I'm like, man, what the heck? I'm like, my mom must be praying to the Virgin Mary right now, empowering this to happen. I get out of the room and look, and yup, sure enough, she's praying to that statue. She's invoking it. She don't even realize it. She's performing witchcraft, black, dark magic. These idols, spirits are in them, and she gives them reverence. She gives them her attention, her heart, and that puts like a power inside of those things that let the demons come and attack those who they have right to, because I'm sort of caught in the middle of like still being, my consciousness still being half in Sheol and another half within the kingdom. I'm split in two. You see what I'm saying? That's why half of my face looks one way, half of my other face looks another way. It's prophetic that that I would be prophetically split in two. And that's what that revelation is. You know, people like, you know, one half I look, that's my face be looking crooked, and it's because like one half of them is prophetic. I've always had that like that one part of my conscious would be in another realm, and one part of my other conscious in the Shamayim realm. But you know, finally all came back. I won't go into that. But at the time, because it was there, they had authority to attack me to a certain measure if I wasn't doing something right. And so being there with all that idolatry wasn't right. You know, I couldn't even eat with them. You know, Scripture says don't even eat with them if they're idolaters. So I would eat on my own little table over there. But then, I don't know, eventually, like, I got convicted by even eating stuff they were cooking. Not just eating with them, but, like, don't eat nothing from that house. Or, I don't know, like, I have to buy my own things. You know what? I'm out. So, Yahuwah one morning spoke, I'm going to cause you to leave. And the next day, you know, I told my dad, Yahuwah gave me the word, tell your dad, you know, the word again. And I'm gonna cause you to leave this day. So I tell my dad the word again. I try to share, like, hey dad, look, I just want you to check out this word. And he's like, you know what? You need to go out and find a job instead of listen to that BS and talking about that BS all day. And I point at the TV and I said, that right there's the BS. You know what I'm saying? He's like, you can get out of here. You know, get your stuff. And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's actually what I'm supposed to do. The word, Yahuwah told me he's gonna cause me to leave this day. So I packed all my stuff up and I left. Not because my dad told me, because Yahuwah told me. He told me that was the plan already. So that's why I was even like more ardent, like yeah, okay. And so I don't know where I was going to go, but then this bird started kind of flying and leading me to the path. And it brought me to Old Town. And it took me to the back of the AA, and it landed right there to like rest, where there's like a bench. And yeah, it was like legit, perfect little resting spot. So I knew it was that bird's from Yahuwah. You know, because it's like catching your attention. It's like, it would fly just a few steps ahead of me, and it always stayed in my sight all the way till Old Town, all the way to that spot. And that's where I started doing the videos when I'm like homeless out there, and I started finally doing my first live videos. That's when the first live video happened. Still coming, you know, back in my mind from meth and all that. Still seeing demonic things happen. So, in the demonic realm. So then, yeah, man. So Ray Bentley, you know, like, that was 2019 Christmas, and then I blew the shofar and left and let them know. They knew. I blew it at 16. And by going there upstage and telling you, stop doing this. I come back again on Christmas at 19, and I'm looking at y'all like Yahuwah is not approved. I came as an ambassador of Yahuwah. I think I told them, they're like, state your business, what are you here for? And I said, I came as an ambassador for the kingdom of Yah, just to see, check up on y'all, see what y'all are doing. And they knew what I meant. I don't have to explain. They knew where I stood from 2016. Yeah, I should not be keeping Christmas. And then when I saw what they're doing, I dusted my feet at the end of the service, and I blew the shofar, and I said, judgments are coming upon this, assembly, And it came on the leader, and that's the main thing I'm trying to get, because I was 19. 20 came by. What happened? Shoot, that was the one where Pastor Ray Bentley passed away after that one, because he died. Oh no, 22. Never mind, I was last, because 20 to 21, he just passed away this past January. So 20 to 21 happened. The 20 Christmas happened, and after I said judgments, nothing happened. Who always does that? He's always gonna give a time to repent. Like, you got to make that decision on your own. So 20 was like the time for them to be like, okay, you came at 19 and COVID happened immediately after that. You came at 16, you gave us plenty of years. 16, then you came at 19 again, and then COVID happened right after that. You know what I'm saying? And then so like 20, we should have heeded the warning, but we didn't. And then 21 comes, and I'm pretty sure they kept the service, because Christmas, December 20 of 21, right? And then what's after 21? New Year's, 22. And so that's when I saw he passed away. It was January 4th. January 4th, 25 to 67 to 8 to 9, 20 to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Yeah, that's like that's 9 days from Christmas. He died, and he didn't even make it 10 days past Christmas. Yahuwah told me to count. I'm like, okay, I don't know why, but I guess just to know how close, because we think 21 and 22 is like this whole different year apart, but he wanted me to count to know how many days after Christmas he passed away. And yeah, he didn't even make it 10 days past Christmas of 2021. And that is the whole point of this message, with some testimony, but of his testimony of like what happens is like to show y'all Yahuwah is not playing with you. He let me see that. He is no respecter of person. I was like, I exalted this man in my heart too, because he showed me the feast. I was thankful for him that he, was obedient, had that heart for that. But more really, I was thankful to Yahuwah, because Yahuwah put that in his heart. He just was obedient to it. But praise Yah that he was, but praise Yah even more. See what I'm saying? But at the same time, Yahuwah showed me he's no respecter of person. You can have a part of the truth, and maybe you still might not make it in the kingdom, but Yahuwah will use you to still speak the truth, to say what Yahuwah's got to say, so you get the message to those who will actually, hear the word and take it to heart and act accordingly. See what I'm saying? Because you got a lot of people that preach, but they don't do. You know what I'm saying? So he's looking for the doers of the word, not just the preachers and the hearers of the word. So I'm talking to myself. For those that are like, hey, you talk to yourself. I know I'm talking to myself. That's what I'm saying. He opened my eyes to see firsthand experience that Yahuwah is no respecter of person. Because I got to firsthand witness an exalted pastor who taught the feast, all this, but yet he was hardened about Christmas and, replacement theology and Zionism and all that. He was helping contribute to the third temple, to that whole synagogue of Satan movement and the delusion, without knowing, thinking he was right. See what I'm saying? Had the feast, but praise Yah, it used as a good tool. I was able to learn the feast, and that's all it was meant. So a lot of these things in Chai is just meant for us to eat the meat and spit the bones, but everybody's probably got a little bit of meat to chew on, and it's necessary. It's like a Lego piece. You know how many little Lego pieces there are to the Millennium Falcon? Hey, Millennium right? The millennial reign, the millennial year reign, the 1,000-year reign, the millennial reign, the millennial kingdom, right? Well, imagine that millennial reign like the millennial Falcon and Lego pieces. You gotta get all those little pieces to build that Millennium Falcon with all the perks and the accessories and all that. And that's a lot of pieces, and they're scattered in all the different religions, all the different churches. But it's all according to the Torah, the truth. And so praise Yah, you know, I got that big old good piece of the Millennium Falcon. And that gave me that was the what do you call that? That thing that makes you go light speed, the hyper speed thing. That was the hyper speed jumper engine thing. I forgot what it's called. You know what I'm saying? Learning the feast, man. That right there put me just like, what I mean is like, that quickened me. Learning the feast through him, through there. That was hyper jumping through speed, man. That powered me up to like receive anything else that I needed to, that was truth, and be ready to apply it immediately. Like the minute I saw tassels, okay, how do you make it? Google made them that like I don't think I made them that day, but my heart, I made them that day, like in the raw. You know what I'm saying? My mind was already, we're going to Michael's, we're gonna buy 100%. Like he was just telling me, I'm like, where can I go to? Okay, Michael's. Okay, bought the 100% cotton threads, took them home, made them for my wife, made them for my bond. You know what I'm saying? Made them for them because I want to make sure they're in right standing with Yahuwah. But the thing about it is you can't do it by the letter. That's what it talks about. Doing it by the letter is doing it just because it says to. I was causing them to do it by the letter. You see what I'm saying? Like they would have to do it because it's in their heart. About to die right now. So yeah, basically like I bought CTM in for my wife and my bond, and you know, just because I wanted them to be covered, like I wanted them to be in right standing with Yah. But at the same time, like they would have to do it from their own heart though. Like, you know, I can't do something for them. You can't do something for people because that's what doing it by the letter is. Doing it by the letters, they're doing it just because it says to do it, but it's not in their heart. It has to be in your heart. But now I understand. I think there's that concept of like, you know, if it's in one of the parents' heart, like if it's in my heart, then even though if they're doing it by the letter, they're sanctified by my amunah. You see what I'm saying? Like I stand in their place for them, even though they don't want to do it, but I keep the house in order, keeping them doing it. You know, it's all on me though. Like Yahuwah looks at my trust through it for their sake. See what I'm saying? That's how that works. When Shaul was talking about that, you know, like a man sanctifies his wife, the unbelieving wife, and the believing wife sanctifies her unbelieving husband. Or the unbelieving family even, right? That's what it's talking about. And sanctified, what is that? Sanctified is a process of sanctification. That's making yourself perfect, make yourself clean. So it's not talking about, oh yeah, I make them perfect by my perfection and they're still not. No, it means like, you know, as you're walking in the Torah, that's sanctification. It's keeping the commandments. You know, they might get to a certain level, but you have them at least looking like the whole part, dressing them in the whole part. But wherever's in their heart, you know, it might not be there, but, you know, we sanctify them according to our heart. Yahuwah looks at our trust for them, where they might fall short, you know what I'm saying? So that's it in the Ruach. So that being said, my phone's about to die, so perfect. Gave me the time I needed for the duration of the message to just say that Yahuwah's not playing. You know, this was Pastor Ray Bentley of Maranatha Church. Went and blew the shofar over there because they taught me the feast, but I thought they were all the way Messianic, but they're still doing Xmas and Easter, so I ended up going there to get away from all the Xmas stuff around downtown everywhere, and they ended up doing the same thing. So I had to get, the Ruach came up in me to jump up there and proclaim a word against them for that, and they kicked me and beat me down. And then the Ruach, you know, after I slipped back for a little bit, then came back over here, that spirit that made me run over here told me to, during that Christmas time, to come back to this to Maranatha, to Ray Bentley's church, just to see where they're at. And they recognized me, and I scolded them, let them know that it ain't good, and blew the shofar coming out and said, you know, judgments are coming, and repent, that they need to stop doing that. Again, I said it, and they let me go. Like, they just watched. And sure enough, COVID happened that next month. COVID happened right after that. And so that was a warning. So that gave them the Christmas of 20 to do it right, and they didn't. So then the Christmas of 21 happened, this past one, and Ray Bentley didn't even make it 10 days past that one because he didn't repent. And maybe that's probably why, I can't say, but that's what it looked like. And you know, died January 4th of 22, this past January 22, and he was young, 64. Died of COVID complications. You know what I'm saying? And so that tells me, like, Yahuwah confirmed that word for me. He told me he was bringing judgments on that church and on them possibly. Like, I had thoughts that he would die, like something was gonna happen, and then COVID. And look, I'm like, wow, like that's trippy. I didn't even think about that. Like, I'm not one to be like Jonah and sit on the hill and watch and wait and see for the judgment, wait for them to die. I just do what Yahuwah tells me and move on and go on. I got other things to do in the kingdom. But it is interesting that he allowed that to resurface back to me. Like, hey, remember, you know, that word that I gave you, and like I told you he would probably die, and look, that word, I established it, just so you know, he's gone. I'm like, dang. And so that just lets me know he was a preacher, teacher. Yahuwah ain't playing. You know what I'm saying? Now, I do like to hope for the best. Love hopes all things, believes all things, hopes for the best, trusts the best, sees the good. I want to say that he could have been he left because, you know, the scriptures say Yahuwah takes a righteous man and the wicked perceive it not. Like, they don't even realize, you know, that maybe they left early because Yahuwah is sparing them from, like, judgments that are coming, right? To keep them from the hour of trials that are coming all over the world. So maybe it was a tender mercy. You know, maybe it was a little bit of both. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But all I know is that it looks a certain way, the way Yahuwah had to play out with how he used me. And I think that takes more, you know, reality, more precedence than the latter. But I'm sure there was some mercy there in the deathbed. And you know what? I shouldn't have been doing this. You done sent me the knob. You done sent me the knob, Raul, Yara, to blow the shofar, and I didn't listen. And here I am, and that's the truth. And so this message to all you Christians, that's the whole point of this, that I give this testimony because this is coming from a Christian setting, that same for you. It's time to repent, come out of those pagan ways, that idolatry, the Xmas and Easter. Now, if you do Christmas as a pagan and all that, like you just do it just to have fun, you're not even religious like that, then fine. You know, you just burn later. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because what does Scripture say? Judgment starts with the house. Judgment starts with the house first. So he's purging the house. We like to think, you know, us that came out of Babylon are the house, because like we feel that way too, because we got the truth and the Ruach. But at the same time, Yahuwah's looking at it from a global, you know, positional, political type of place, like where people are set up that way that can be seen. And in that world setting kind of way, Christianity is sort of the house. So judgment is beginning with the house, and it's sort of basically Babylon is fallen. And, you know, they have to come out of her. That's why they start coming out, because we start seeing these judgments happen. These pastors are falling. You know, Christianity is falling. The truth is becoming more evident, but people are either going to go led astray into the world of wickedness, lawlessness, or the truth from the fall of Christianity. Once Christianity is like gets knocked off the way, Christianity is going to morph into something new. It's going to be like a new age, you know, spiritual universe and LGBT thing and all kinds of things. You know, Buddhists coexist religion, that type of thing. And if you try to preach any kind of law and righteousness, nah, like you're the accuser of the brethren, you're condemning and all that kind of thing, and they're not gonna, before you know it, it'll be illegal to do that, and that's where they kill us, because Yahuwah gonna give us that last ruach at the end to preach that anyways, and we all gotta go down for it. But then we get resurrected on the third day, so praise Yah. So for now, there's a message to you Christians, you know, that you watch this, you know, you look at Ray Bentley's stuff, you know, I just shared a lot of his videos. You can kind of put it all together. He's pretty easy to read. It's a genuine, nice, you know, genuine, sincere, friendly guy, straight shooter. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. You can see his intentions. He was really just trying to fear Yahuwah and obey the best he could. But you can see where he got took captive by, you know, kissing Chuck Smith, you know, kissing up to him for positional purposes, to make a name for him. He wanted to be a part of revival and the world history, doing something on the earth for the kingdom, but shouldn't do it at the expense of having to suck up to someone else like that. That's not the will of Yahuwah. But but he did get the feast, and he did teach it to us. He taught it to me, and I got to the truth through that. And I feel like some of those videos are still a little somewhat anointed on his teachings on the feast, so there they are. And that kind of I watched it again, it sort of gave me a little fuel, a little pick-me-up. You know, it reminded me of, maybe because it reminded me, it was a familiar spirit, reminded me of all them days. And it just led me to Google. That's where it took me through my Google research path. So go ahead and watch those videos. Let them watch how he breaks down the feast and the blood moons. Start there. A lot of people didn't even know about the blood moons at that time, between 2014 and 15 on the feast days of Yah. And that right after that was sort of like the warning signs to let us know COVID and all this was coming. And here we are. People were like, oh, those blood moons didn't do nothing. We're looking at it. It ain't going to happen right away. You know, sometimes it takes 5 minutes for someone to pull up when they say they're on their way. So they're about to be there. Sometimes for Yahuwah, in this time frame, it's going to take a few years before he shows up with the pandemics for the blood moons. So that's the message. Get on your Google research. Get out of Christianity. Get out of my people. Get out of those pagan holidays. Come to the truth of Yahuwah, Yahusha, his true names, his true biblical feasts. Get your tassels on. Eat clean. Praise Yah. And with that, I bid you farewell. Do your research. Get on your research and learn all the truth you can concerning this. And start living it, because the internet's about to go. And then no one's going to know books. The word's going to be shut up, and there's going to be no way to fill your oil, your lampstand, to prepare yourself to have that right relationship with Yahuwah Yahusha. Aman? One last word, because a lot of us said, oh, I can learn and prepare later and this and that. No, you can't. If you don't do it now, you won't be able to do it then. You have to have done it now. There's always a sacrifice. On that last note, I'm glad Yahuwah gave me this message. There's always a thing about a sacrifice. Everything he gives us was poured out because we gave up a sacrifice. Abraham was willing to give up Isaac, so he gave that covenant, the promises to Abraham, because he saw Abraham's sacrifice, what he was willing to do. So he reaffirmed and really made those promises come through to Abraham. I remember I gave up weed a long time ago as a sacrifice, and all of a sudden he poured in his ruach and started leading me to the truth and to immersion and all that right way. And then again, I made a sacrifice of you always got to constantly be giving up sacrifices, and he will look upon that and then activate you. You know what I'm saying? Even the sacrifice of time. That was one of the things. Like, I was in the midst of just had my boy, and I was raising him, my family. We could have been going out having a good time, but I was sacrificing. Nah, I want to stay home, and I just want to study the Word and search all this stuff out. Like, if I just do this once right now and do it right wholeheartedly, it'll be worth it. Like, I will never have to research again. And that's how I looked at it. And that's wisdom. It's from the Ruach, because there's only so much truth you can look up. If you just get it done one time in this high, you got many years, many days to live, you'll never have to research it again. And then most of us have never done that. Most of us never read the whole Bible. So it's like, make that sacrifice. You think you'll have time. Man, I'm working right now. I'll make time when I get more set. I'll make, no. If you're not doing it now, you're never gonna do it. Something just like, I'm making a sacrifice today, and I make sure to study and learn everything, because that's ruaku. You're making a sacrifice. When you do that, it puts in more strength, more empowerment, more discernment, more achadness, more intimacy with Yahusha. When you do your own research for yourself, I can preach and say whatever and teach you and show you can hear and be like, yeah, okay. It's going to be more intimate. It's going to mean more to you when you do the research yourself, and you know that, because some of you go to school and you do the research, and there's something about it that feels so fulfilling and satisfying once you did the research, learned the math, and did it yourself instead of cheating, right? So it's that same concept. Go and do some of this research and learn this stuff, look this stuff up for yourself. Study the pagan things, the way they did things, the biblical feasts, and learn the prophetic. Like, you just do your own research, and that'll fill you up with oil strong enough to sustain you to be able to do it, and then that to push it out. It just will become a beautiful thing. So with that, I bid you farewell. May Abba Yahuwah favor you and increase you. May he guard you and protect you and strengthen you. Abba Yahuwah make his face shine upon you, be compassionate towards you. Abba Yahuwah lift his countenance on you and fill you with all his ruach, his kadash ruach, all his shalom, and favor you with all the fruit of the ruach. palau and pray this and petition and declare this by the power of the blood of the renewed covenant, by the power and authority of the King of Kings, Yahusha, Mashiach, our Adon, our Elohim, our King of Kings and our Prince of Peace, and our Kuhan Hagadol, forever and ever. Aman and Aman and Aman. Shalom, shalom, Yasharal. Shalom, shalom, Mashpaka. Shalom, shalom. Love you.